Welcome to Tractor Talk.
Tractor Talk.
A mini podcast about tractor life. Episode 13, Thin Air Warning. Thin Air Warning.
Howdy folks, welcome to another episode of Tractor Talk. Today we're going to be discussing a topic that hits pretty close to home because our home is the pinnacle state for this topic. Elevation. Here in Colorado and throughout the entirety of the Rocky Mountain area, some of the Southwest, some of the Sierra Nevada mountains out in California, and you folks up in Alaska too. You get plenty of high mountainous areas as well. Anywhere east of here, you get a little bit flatter to where this doesn't concern you as much, but it could be good knowledge to know no matter what. Now, elevation, as we all know, depletes oxygen in the air. The higher up you go from sea level, the less oxygen there is. This starts really taking effect into tractors, what would you say, Hank, about 6,000 feet above sea level?
Yeah, that's when you start really noticing it.
I would say so too. Like there is a change at every every 1,000 feet. You lose a little bit of power here and there, but I feel like maybe 6,500. That's your real cutoff point. You know, like any of my customers up in Laramie, Wyoming, it's 7,220 up there, 7,220 feet. I only remember that because it's on the football sideline and on any piece of school memorabilia.
Yeah.
But that's where you're really going to start feeling it is at about 6,000 feet. I have some customers with older tractors that are strictly naturally aspirated up in Golden, or Evergreen area. And then as soon as they bring it to their buddy's house east of Denver, or just as soon as you get down flat there, all of a sudden they're like, my tractor's working like a superhero all of a sudden. It's just picked up so much in performance. Natural aspirated engines are going to have a hard time trying to maintain an oxygen pool when there's less oxygen abundant in the air. So there are two different engine types that can solve this. The first one being the common rail engine. We find this pretty much throughout our Coyote series of tractors, our Coyote line of tractors, especially in the CK series is where I like to demonstrate this at, because you have the CK 2620, a 25 horsepower engine, naturally aspirated.
Mm-hmm.
So for any of our customers above that 6,000 mark or so, we got to bump them up to 35 or 40 horsepower immediately. With a common rail engine, it has a component called electronic timing to where it will adjust itself and compensate for the excess elevation you're putting it in, to where you're not going to lose any horsepower or at least any output from it. That is what a common rail will do. Again, very common in the Coyote tractors, and if they non-manufacturing prevails, probably also very common in the Bobcat tractors as well too. I believe that they would be similar structure. They're both from the same assembly line.
Yeah.
And then there is another style which you will explain.
Yeah. So the other one would be the turbo.
Yep.
And something that we have to address here is you have different tractors with different styles of injection systems. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, they come in and they say, oh, it's got a turbo, it's going to be fine at 10,000 feet. Well, if it's mechanical fuel injection, the turbo will help, but it's not going to fully compensate for not having the electric timing.
Yeah.
So the turbo always does help at elevation, but also keep in mind, if you're at 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 feet, that's a rare area for tractors. So
it feels more common to us because, again, we're right here on the front range of Colorado. We're used to people being at, could be at 4,000 feet or 3,000 feet, or they could be all the way up at 10 if they're up at like Red Feather Lakes or something like that. It's just so easy to just all of a sudden just increase,
Yeah. So the higher up you are, the more advanced of a fuel injection system you're going to need for that better performance. It's more components, it's more computers. It's not what some people like to hear, but it's definitely what you're going to need from what we've found.
And kind of like I was talking before, can you reiterate or maybe explain further some of the negatives or some of the consequences of having a naturally aspirated tractor at that excess elevation? I know we've probably seen at least a couple tractors come back because folks are just kicking themselves over that.
So what happens with the naturally aspirated tractors is they have no force induction, so they have no way to compensate for that thinner air. And what ends up happening is that it ends up clogging up their DPF filters. So it's the excess fuel is getting pushed through the system into that filter, clogging it up a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
That, or it's just a severely diminished results where the tractor is not performing the way it should be without having that forced induction.
All good things to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Definitely all good things to keep in mind. Whether you're looking to trade into a different tractor or possibly buying your first, be sure to keep this in your thoughts, especially if you live out here in the Rocky Mountains, Southwest region, anywhere where you have excess elevation above sea level, anywhere that they advertise skiing at any part in your state.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
sure that you're taking a look at this. If part of your state looks like a Coors Banquet commercial, be sure that you keep this in mind. We'll be back next week with another episode of Tractor Talk. Be sure to both like and subscribe to our channel. Until then, catch you down the road.